All right, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, and welcome to the Blurring the Lines podcast. I am, as always, your host, Peter Nikolaidis, and as always, joining me, my co-host, Adam Bell.
How you doing, Peter?
I'm okay. How are you?
You're okay. I'm I am doing fantastic, I guess.
So, as a backup, I have Audio Hijack Pro recording this on
Mm,
my side.
mm-hmm.
And despite the fact that Zoom is set to be sending its output to my AirPods,
Mm-hmm.
my AirPod Pros, um, Audio Hijack is hijacking that connection and it is sending the output to a predefined output, which is not the AirPod Pros. So I've taken them off. Are you hearing any background noise?
I don't hear anything now.
Excellent. That's good to know.
Yeah, I guess the audio hijacked you.
You cannot detect your speaker.
Yeah, you were talking there. You were doing a really good mime.
Yeah, well, you were too for a moment, and now it came back. It's so funny because like I'm not touching it, I'm not on it or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, but I did take my AirPods out, and I think it took Zoom that long to realize that
Oh,
something
it
was
does.
going on. So
Yeah, I rebooted my computer before we started because
good
it was
man.
it was acting a little wonky, and I'm like,
Yep.
well, I don't need it to be wonky while Peter and I are talking today.
Nope. And I rebooted last night to apply the latest Mac OS updates.
Mm-hmm.
And I've
Cool.
also installed the latest iOS updates and iPad OS updates
Nice.
and Watch OS updates, sort of.
Sort of. Yeah, I got my watch update. I'm I didn't get notification of any new iOS updates though.
You should. It's at 17.3. Yep.
17.3. Yeah, I'll
Yep.
take care of those.
Well, I was able to update my Apple Watch Ultra 2. I
Mm-hmm.
was not yet able to update my Apple Watch Series 4.
Why do you have two Apple Watches?
That's a good question. Well, my dad is at least temporarily in a nursing home for rehab after he had a
Okay.
nasty fall.
Mm-hmm.
So he now has full-time human beings around him to detect if he has fallen.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't need a watch to detect if he has fallen. So I figured, you know what? It's lighter and slimmer. Maybe I'll use this for sleep tracking.
Okay.
Not that it's usually an issue, but I do notice occasionally if I wear the ocean band with my watch,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the bulk, I can feel the bulk, while I'm
Yeah.
sleeping, or I'll wake up and it just I'm aware of it
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, eh. So, but this after wearing an ultra for so long with the thick, with the ocean band, this
Yeah.
thing's like nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I wore it last night for sleep. The one thing is, it's a Series 4. It was getting less than 8 hours of battery life because it was an old refurb that I picked up on Walmart like a year ago or a year
Mm-hmm.
and a half ago, I think. But I bought the 3-year protection plan
Mm-hmm.
and I sent it in and they replaced both the screen and the battery.
Ah, cool.
That said, the battery life on this thing is still pathetic compared to an Ultra. It's like I look at it like I've been wearing it from, like 10 o'clock or so, and like the battery's at 80%. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
really? Come on.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice having a slimmer watch again for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I said is I was able to update the Ultra 2. This one will not take the 10.3 update. I definitely had trouble doing the pairing and also applying the update. It keeps on insisting my phone is not connected to the internet,
Oh, yeah.
uh, which it is. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I figured I'll just wait. I did some searching. Some other people are having this problem. Maybe Apple will release 10.3.1. I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Since I'm just using it for sleep tracking, I'm not terribly concerned. I probably should be though, because there were definitely some security fixes in the release.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, in mine, so I've got the Ultra One, which you had an Ultra One too. But you know, the only thing that's kind of irritating to me, it's not it's a feature. I get it. So it's, you know, it they want to maintain the battery life as long as possible. And charging a battery to 100% and keeping it at 100% builds bad memory. So I get that. So they do I guess it does about 75%. It detects your normal behavior.
Yep.
It hasn't detected, I wish it would detect, it's smart, but it's not smart enough. I wish it would detect on the weekends, I go to the farm. And on the weekends, I typically go even longer without a charge, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I might go 2 days without a charge. And
Yep.
so if I have to kind of anticipate, especially when I'm traveling, and tell it the night before, give me 100%, and it'll do it for a couple of days.
Yep.
Um, so that is nice, but some people may not know about that feature, but it's cool.
Yeah, I know about the feature, and it always seems to me, I have not yet identified the pattern that my watches follow when it comes to their smart charging. Every now and then I'll just notice, and it's got the, 80% hook,
Yeah, hook. No, no
showing that
more.
it's not, it's like, I'm done. I could do more, but you don't need more. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But and usually I'm like, okay, that's great. And then I find that I've like taken it off the charger and put it back on, and it starts charging up to full again, and I don't need it to. And
Mm-hmm.
so I really don't know. But I mean, my hope is that I'll make the Ultra 2 last longer if I'm, not wearing it at night, or not wearing it as much or whatnot. Because the other thing is, the reason I'm not wearing it as much right now is I am not running as much. By
Mm-hmm.
that, which is to say, I am not running at all,
Oh,
because
not at all.
I had an MRI, and my knees. I won't go into details on this show, but my knee's pretty messed up. Let's just leave
Yeah,
it at that.
yeah. Well, that's a
So
bummer.
yeah, but I have not run like at all since late last year. So late December, when I was in New Orleans, was the last time I did any kind of running. And I haven't done anything real since October, since the injury.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You pump up the bike
so
then?
well, you can't tell right now. Maybe you can with the occasional bob from side to side, but I am on my desk bike at this very moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm doing my best to keep myself active. I've gotten back into periodically just throwing the kettlebell around, and, like in between calls or whatnot, I'll just do a few sets on the weight bench, and just, trying to get myself moving. And I'm getting back into yoga more regularly. So, those are all good things.
Mm-hmm.
My push-ups don't hurt as much. Shoulders seems to be, knock on wood, feeling a little better. So,
Well, apparently, I now have sympathetic shoulder pain because, well, yeah, I've never had shoulder pain. I mean, I've bench press, all of my adult life, and
yeah.
I've bench pressed heavy, and I've never had shoulder pain until today. I was bench pressing 225. We were doing sets of four, 225.
Oh,
Fourth set, I did two, and when I pushed it at the top, my shoulder said, So I took one more down, and I'm like, nope, it's in, and it
oh.
hurts. So I'm going to be doing some physical therapy to it over the next couple weeks I mean, my own physical therapy. Today, I don't think I need an expert, but I do not need to if I do nothing, that's bad.
Well, it depends. If it depends, it depends. That depends on what the definition of nothing is.
Well, well,
You know,
I might do some stretch. If I can't put weight on it, then I won't put weight on it. But
yeah,
I
that's
can
nothing.
stretch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can stretch, and I can put some weight on it, and I can massage it, and I iced it, and
Yep.
we'll see.
I think, and for me, that's the thing, is like my shoulder probably, I mean, sorry, my shoulder, my knee, probably would have gotten better sooner if I had done legitimately nothing, right?
Hmm.
But I didn't. I didn't do nothing. I didn't stop at all, right?
Oh,
So
you
because
just
because
powered
I
through.
can, yeah, exactly, right? which we've discussed on this podcast before, how dumb that is. And yet here we are. I'm still doing that. Um, but where I'm going with that is like my knee actually feels better these last couple of weeks, right? After not doing anything but like yoga and a little bit on the exercise bike.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the problem is like every time that I would get to feeling about that last time, I would start running again and pain again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, all right, well, let's try not doing that for a little while. So
Mm-hmm.
there you go.
All
I
right.
tell
Well, you know, the the choice is, you know, if we don't get older and we don't have injuries, then we're dead.
you.
So,
Well, I don't know about that. I think you can still have injuries and be dead.
oh, okay.
I think you can be dead and injured. I'm just saying. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Not proof. Death is not proof of injury. I think you just at that point you just don't care
No,
anymore.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't care anymore. So, speaking of looking younger or looking older, I had to go back through 205 podcast posts and manually update the URL because there's no scripted way that I could figure out how to do it. And when I figured out the time it was going to take, it's going to take me about an hour and a half to go through each one at a time, which I did because I could spend an hour and a half trying to figure out how to script it in WordPress for a one time thing. And I was like, I don't have time for that. So,
Wow.
but
See now,
anyway, I did detect, I actually found some podcasts that we had out there that
with
didn't even
video.
have, they weren't even live. Like they were
Oh,
posts, but the MP3 was not attached and verified. So I attached those and verified those. And then there's also lots of pictures of us in the past, and
oh goodness.
we looked younger.
Huh. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. One of the first podcasts I look at with the picture, you don't have any gray, or if you do have gray, the screen
Oh,
can't pick it up.
oh. Wait, how many years have we been doing this now?
Since 2016.
Wow.
And
Yeah, that's a
we had
while.
we had a lot of podcasts. We had a big cybersecurity podcast. We had
Oh yeah.
Bill and Kevin and Tim on one, and we
Hmm.
had Tim a lot more times than I recall as a guest.
Oh yeah. No, Tim Richter was a semi-regular, semi-regular member.
Hmm. So that was fun. But yeah, I so the reason I updated all those URLs. So when I knew that this could happen, I knew that at some point, if the reason I the podcast could take off and the bandwidth utilization would not have been able to handle it from GoDaddy. So I always anticipated if it ever got to be big, then we'd have to do something else there on the files. But
Let
that
me
has
guess.
not.
Let me guess. No, and now that that has happened, your hosting provider for the podcast has given you, I'm going to say, 60 to 90 days notice, letting you know that we might need to consider either upgrading to a more robust hosting package or transition and migrate to another host. Is that what happened?
Yes, except it was 83 days less than that.
I
I
was close.
I got 6-day notification that if I did not adjust these files, then my account was going to be closed and terminated. And when they delete the account, it cannot be restored. And
Some
awesome. No heads up, just it was the net violation thing that sent to me. And here's the thing: they wanted the podcast files moved, but I had a number of other files that I have an FTP server with them, and these files have been sitting on the FTP server since 2008. And
Hmm.
they've been static for the last 4 years because we've abandoned the FTP server and now we do things like SharePoint and it was a company share.
Hmm.
But that's the things that they're like, this has absolutely has to be deleted. You can't do this. These files are in a violation. I'm like, is how's it in violation? I I mean, I'm not. These are me using FTP. I put a file there. I need to retrieve it, but apparently you're not supposed to use your web server as a file server in any form or fashion.
And you know what? I get that.
Yeah.
As someone who used to have a web hosting business with customers who would abuse that,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. One of my customers, this was back, geez, well over 10 years ago. This is back when I was completely in Bethel before back in Vermont, before I started splitting my time in Mass. I had a company and was an advertising company. And these people would they would get on my case because they could not email a 50 meg Photoshop document. And it's been taking forever. Why is it so slow? And blah 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 and stuff. And they would also just, they at one point were, I mean, they were paying for, this back like I think 100 megs of space,
Mm-hmm.
which, 10, 15 years ago, you could do a decent website for that for a small
Yeah.
business and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They routinely were going over a gig, and they would just, instead, oh, we can't email stuff, okay, well, we'll just upload it to our website, and that was it. But then they would never delete it. I was like, look, if you need to transfer a large file to your customer, sure, throw it on their website. Once they've downloaded it, delete it.
Yeah.
Nope, never going to delete it. They would
Mm-hmm.
never delete a thing. And then on top of that, they stopped paying their bill.
Oh yeah. Thanks, guys.
And so I was like, okay, well, you stop paying your bill, I'll stop hosting your site.
We're
And that went
we're gonna
over really
change
well.
this config file in Apache.
Yeah.
Your site's
Oh
still
yeah. I was just like, huh. Oh well. So yeah, so that problem went away.
mm-hmm.
The business kind of went away too. So
Yeah.
all right. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, so I can understand that. But the whole, it's been like this for 4 years, you have 7 days or 6 days notice.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how long. I think it was more than 7 days. I think it might have been 30 days. But we, back in the day too, early on, I remember I hosted with a bunch of different providers. I tried every way under the sun. I was like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service hosting models. And at one point, I had a virtual server from GoDaddy also, right? And it was
Mm-hmm.
like, here's your virtual machine. And it was running Red Hat, I don't remember, Red Hat low digit number,
Mm-hmm.
version. And they're like, okay, I think it was like 30 days from now, this server's being terminated. You have to migrate to a new one. There's no upgrade path. We're no longer supporting Red Hat 6 or whatever it was. And that was it. It was just no migration path whatsoever. And I was like, how the hell do you guys maintain, your position as the world's largest hosting provider when you keep doing stupid bleep like this?
Yeah.
I was just like, ah, it must be a ton of people out there who are like, oh, okay, I guess we have another project now. Let's go do it. No other choice, because there couldn't possibly be another place where we could host our website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, that was fun.
So
Not.
we're now testing Amazon S3 as a service provider. So
Yep.
it was
Okay.
pretty
And which
easy.
which S3 tier did you use?
I don't know.
Okay. Because there are multiples.
Yeah.
Um, I was just listening to the latest, I think maybe it was last week, the Amazon podcast, their update. And they have now an S3 offering. I forget what it's called, but it's like a super low latency offering. And they're offering, depending on your geographic region, like milliseconds of response time. So it's essentially a file server at that point. It's not this like, yeah, we'll get you your download when it gets around to starting.
Hmm.
But Amazon S3, I think that's probably one of the oldest AWS services that I have experience with.
Hmm.
And it used to be back in the day, it was like it's just S3. There you go. And then they added Glacier. And now there are numerous different flavors of S3 and flavors of Glacier. And they all basically like depend on they're different depending on your access time requirements, how long you need to store the data there. Like if it's something when you do a restore, like for my personal files, like lots of old books and archives and things that I
Hmm.
will, if I need it, I can, if I get it tomorrow, I'm fine. I'll throw those in Glacier infrequent access and just leave it there. And
Hmm.
most time I get like a bill for like $6 a month and I just don't think about it. But if you wanted to use it to say back up your website or a website for a customer and you want to be able to restore it, like within an hour or something like that, you don't want to be waiting for, the 1 to 8 hours for the, the standard restore time. So,
So I'm in a general purpose bucket, and I
mhm.
think I'm in. I think I also chose. I did not choose multi-regional
Okay.
replication. So they
Got it.
whoever's accessing this is coming to the U.S. East Ohio region from no matter where they are.
Right. And for a podcast download, that's fine.
It's
Right.
yeah. Our average podcast size is about 75 meg. That's
Yeah.
our and if I
But
shrunk it, it could be half that.
right, but again, if you're downloading a podcast from across the, other side of the planet, it's probably fine, right? Because
Hmm.
unless you're there sitting there clicking right now, play, play, play,
Play.
play,
Yeah, you would you
you're
wouldn't want to buffer it live from China, but you could
fair
download
enough.
from China and listen to it.
Exactly. So, so that's probably working just fine. So,
Hmm. Yeah, the my only complaint, I don't know, I'll probably come up with some more complaints, but my current complaint with the upload into the bucket, I was I had to upload 207 files. Well, if I selected all 207 files, the HTML tried to choose like 30 of those to upload at once. Not
hmm,
not three or four to upload at once or even one.
30.
Yeah, yeah. I mean it would do all the way to the next screen of like who wrote this code? I mean, especially if you're doing uploads, first in, first out is the most efficient way to upload single files if you don't want
Hmm,
to kill the bandwidth, or if your
yeah.
bandwidth is, I don't know, coax cable that only has 50 meg upload. Yeah, that's a 1 or 2 buffer. So I was disappointed at that. I'm like, because it's not like this isn't mature technology.
Hmm. Oh, there's the file transfers of that's been around. That's a thing.
Yeah. And
How old
Amazon,
is how old is FTP? I forget. I remember
oh,
celebrating its birthday years ago.
yeah, FTP is older than SMTP. Um, how?
Yeah, it's older than you and me. FTP was first described in a white paper in 1971.
Yep, April 16th, 1971. Yep,
There
I
you go.
wasn't
So it's
born
got
at
a
that
birthday coming up in a couple months. All right, great.
time. Isn't that crazy?
The internet has been around for a while. But yeah, you were saying that SMTP only came around in the 80s, right?
Uh, how old is? While we're looking, SMTP, 1990. Yeah, 1982.
Okay, there you go. I knew it was newer, but I didn't remember like we're talking how new. So
Mm-hmm. All right.
here's the protocols and standards.
So yeah, so I got my love letter from GoDaddy. At first, I thought it was spam because
Mhm.
it came from NetVio at whatever solutions.com, whatever their home parent domain is. And here's the
Oh,
other thing. It wasn't a nice letter, and I was like, but whatever, they don't care. So I did want to report to them it was done. It was, I couldn't even, there wasn't even a reply place. The only place that I could reply is they gave me the phone number for customer service so I could call customer service to tell them that I acquiesced to their request.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's going to go because the customer service person will know all about the problem that you have and be able to, sure, articulate and address the issue for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So I did delete them, and I was like, so it's not worth spending another minute of my life talking to them
Yep.
about it. So,
Well, I felt that way too. I was frustrated, banging my head against the wall, trying to get my old Apple Watch to upgrade to 10.3. And I was just like, I'm almost, you know what? I could call Apple. I even reached for the phone and I started dialing 1-800 my Apple. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait and see if this one fixes itself. I really not that worried anyway right now. Maybe I should be. Maybe I'm a bad security professional. Really not worried about my watch getting hacked because this thing can't surf the web. I mean, one thing it's interesting is like in general, look, I look at it, tells time just great. It's fine. Does not have the always on display, so I have to actually look at it again. That's fine.
mhm,
It's actually less distracting. I don't find myself looking at my watch while my hand is
mhm,
down on the desktop and stuff. Okay, fine, great. Um, this thing can barely get email. It's like I'm certainly not clicking on links and attachments and stuff in the emails, etc. So
mhm.
hoping I'll be okay until and if Apple gets around to, fixing this problem. So we'll see. We'll see. But not holding my breath.
All right.
So
So switching gears, light gear. I don't know if this is a nifty or um, have you read? I don't know if I mentioned them. The Stranger Times. Have I
mm-mm.
mentioned that book? So um, it's the author is he's an Irish comedian, and he's written 18 books. And he writes with by the name of C.K. McDonald, but I apparently, well, his middle initial is K, and I can't find what his middle initial is. But in his other books, he calls himself Kiev, and um, I don't know if Kiev is his middle name, uh, but his first name is spelled Caimh. And I'm not real great in Gaelic, but I couldn't find any way that Caimh would equal Kiev in any.
Well, can you find a way that Siobhan is Siobhan?
Oh, yeah. So, maybe that's just how you spell it.
Maybe it is. So,
But not his name aside, that slightly amuses me. Uh, he has two books. He's got a man. Well, he's got more than one. He's got 18. He's got a number of series, and one of them is the man with one of those faces is the first book, and then the Stranger Times. And the Stranger Times is um, like the Inquirer, the magazine, the Inquirer. But
I've
imagine
heard of it.
aliens and vampires, so like the X-Files version of the Inquirer with far-fetched stories and all of
Sure.
that. And they
Inquiring minds want to know, man.
yeah. And so the story's based around the newspaper that does this publication and weird things that happen around them, supernatural and everything else. And it is fun. Um, and I actually like hearing the narrator do it because he does English accents really well, and he differentiates, the accent. Like if he's in Manchester, he's doing a Manchester accent. Like if the
Oh,
character is from there, if the,
okay.
and he,
Versus a Cockney accent or something.
yeah, and I I probably know it a little. I could probably recognize accents a little bit better than other people, but if they gave me five different accents, I'd be like, well, I'm pretty sure I could guess the Mancunian, but and I probably, the Irish and the Scottish, they would be insulted, and the Welsh, they were like, yeah, that's a you insult me. I'm like, sorry, you can't tell if I'm from Tennessee or Georgia though.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's
So
pretty accurate. Yeah. How far away is Tennessee from Georgia, and how far away is Manchester from the
yeah.
Cockney region? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, their whole nation is much more compact, and it kind of amazes me how big of an accent difference there is. I mean, there's 750 miles from you and me, and
Hmm.
and I'm not sure if that's interstate miles or that's as the crow flies.
Those are crow flies miles, man.
So Georgia, which does have a different accent than me, they're 3 hours away.
Theirs
Louisiana,
is a lot peachier, isn't it?
Peachier, yeah.
Yeah. And yours is a little more barbecuey.
Barbecuing, yeah.
Yeah.
Ours is I don't know. Ours is I don't know, a little more functional, less flowery, um, and kind of in some ways sounds a little bit dumber at times. Then you get over to Kevin Landers in North Carolina, and it really sounds dumb. I'm just joking, my North Carolina friends.
Except Kevin.
Except Kevin.
Yeah.
We all have the accent doesn't necessarily show what's in the mind. So all right. So that was my book series recommendation. I've enjoyed everything that I've read by McDonald, and even his Man with One of Those Faces. I think there's 4 or 5 books with there, and there's spin-offs from there, and there's a main character, Bunny McCarran, and he's got his own spin-off from there. I enjoy books like that where you have the spin-off characters where people were interested. So anyway.
So I don't know what my next Audible book is going to be, but thanks to you, I am an Audible Unlimited subscriber now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recall at this point. I think I might have been off of the $5 for the first 3 months thing. I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually in the full paid kind of thing right now. So
Mm-hmm.
so far all the books I've gotten. Well, I got that first one, Starter Villain,
Yeah. But did you
which
listen
was
to it?
good. I did. Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. That was
Yeah, it's
great.
good.
Now, this is funny though, because another Audible original is called The Starter X. When it comes to love, she's crushing it. So I don't know if they picked that because of the similarity in the titles or what. But the next 2 books that I read were from Scott Jurek, one of the world's most prolific ultra marathoners.
Uh,
So I'm still trying to keep in touch with the sport, even though I'm not ultraing right
mm-hmm.
now. So I've got a few more, I've got like Ultra Marathon Man, Rise of the Ultra Runners, Broken Open, Mountains, Demons, Treadmills, and The Search for Nirvana.
Nice.
So I got all these different, books sitting here that it's saying, hey, since you like Scott Jurek so much, maybe you like some of these. So yeah, so I just don't know just yet. I'm not sure. I don't know what I want to be, what I want to do for my next book. But yeah, I mean, if you got I like fiction. I really like some fiction stuff because generally my um for nonfiction, I've been getting most of that out of the Blinkist summaries.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than reading the whole thing, because I've got a Blinkist subscription, which I'm getting back into the habit of using as well recently. Um, and so I like to listen to long form books to be entertained, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm listening to those.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. But I'll keep you posted here. I know I listen to some fictional, like supervillain books too.
Mm-hmm.
There's one was I think it was like something like Rise of or something like the D-list supervillains or something.
Uh,
And I read one of them. It was pretty funny.
yeah.
But it was it had like all the tropes in this guy in his super lair, but he was like three rungs down below Lex Luthor. And he goes in this whole thing about how the layer's in disrepair and he messed up this and didn't do that right, but yet still somehow has to manage to get the modern day Venus or Aphrodite as his girlfriend.
Ah,
And so it was a pretty funny book. So
yeah.
well, maybe I'll go that way.
I just recently finished Sherlock Holmes and Count Dracula, and there's more than one
Oh,
of those, and I did enjoy it. And that one's in there, but I don't enjoy Sherlock Holmes as much as I feel like I should. Um,
okay.
I mean, if you describe Sherlock Holmes to me, like, oh yeah, that's a, but I end up not enjoying it as much as I think I should. But that one was a pretty good crossover.
I find AC Doyle's work to be a little dry, and I don't know how to describe like it and maybe I'm misremembering. So a few years ago, when I started, when I pivoted out of Deadlands and mostly into Rippers for my Sunday night games, you may
Hmm.
recall Rippers being the setting where you're basically the Victorian Justice League.
Oh,
So so it's like you're essentially you team up against Dracula, werewolves, mummies, Dr. Frankenstein, the Invisible Man,
hmm,
Dr. Jekyll, and at the top of the food chain, Jack the Ripper.
yeah,
And so you're fighting all those guys. So just doing my prep work for all of the games that I was running, I would just sit down and either read or have Audible read, or Siri or A Word read like Dracula, Frankenstein,
hmm,
Sherlock Holmes novels, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, et cetera, et cetera, and H.G. Wells stuff. So that was a lot of fun. But I think if you can find good mashups, written in modern day stuff, that if that's, an improvement, that's great. And I think, a little bit of an aside, apparently copyright laws in the United States did not get extended this year.
huh.
So apparently, oh, I already added it to my, I just bought it in Audible. So,
You
but
got the classified dossier?
yeah, oh, I don't know. I just, oh, the message that you sent. Yes. So,
Okay.
um, but anyway, sorry, listener, we're getting off track here with
Yeah.
the back channel chats here. Um, where was I going? Help. Ah,
You were
oh, copyright. Thank you.
copyright.
Yes. Sorry. Again, don't multitask, Peter. Don't look at the chats. Um, Apparently, copyright has not been extended for the first time in a long time. And that means that Mickey Mouse is slated to head into the public domain soon, if it hasn't happened already.
I thought they sorted that out legally.
Well, hold on a second. When does Mickey Mouse become public domain? Let's see here.
Because I think,
Uh, yeah, first iteration of Mickey Mouse is headed for public domain in 2024.
hmm,
Oh, in January 2024, it says the copyright for Steamboat Willie expired from 1928. So yeah, because it was 75 years was copyright, and and Disney was the huge lobbying force to do that. They moved copyright out. I don't remember what it was originally, but it was 50 years for a long time, and then it was like lifetime of the author plus 70 years to a maximum of 95 years or some
hmm,
such. So now Steamboat Willie from 1928, here we are at 19 in 2023, so that's 95 years, right?
yeah.
So there's the maximum. So we've hit that. So apparently Mickey Mouse is now public domain, as are Sherlock Holmes and Count Dracula. And
That
that's
must be
why, yeah. So that's why you can have a book that features Count Dracula and Sherlock Holmes. And I think that's great. So the question is, when does Superman go public domain? When can I start using? Because it's funny. It's not the reason that I do it, but like in my Sunday night games when I run the superpowers games, right? It's not the same thing. You know, we don't generally have Superman, Batman. There's one exception. There's Captain America. I let that one slide. But generally, I make all my players and all of my non-player characters, they have to be a pastiche. You know, you can't be original, right? You're not Superman in this game.
Hmm.
You can be Supreme Man, you know, or Super Guy, or something like that. But
Wonder
and it's
Years.
not because of of copyright, but I jokingly say like, oh, we don't want any copyright violations in our Sunday night games, guys. So
Hmm.
anyway.
Well, that that actually answers a question that I had. So it's the Sherlock Holmes and Count Dracula. It's the classified dossier, and according to the book, this is the first book in the series, and Sherlock Holmes has died, and now Watson is able to tell the stories because he promised not to tell them while Sherlock Holmes was still alive. And
Ah,
and he's kind of set the stage. He said, I'm slightly changing the stories of things that may have been told in the past to protect the people who are still living, and now that they're no longer living, I can tell the truth.
excellent.
So every story, he could do Hounds of Baskerville all over again and it
Yep.
not be the same because these are the actual facts, not
We don't need to
which is
protect the innocent any longer.
which
So,
is brilliant. I
yep.
like things like that when they're like, I'm gonna change the story and this is how I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. I'm getting more sympathetic to changing, the stories and stuff. And so I think we've probably talked about this on the podcast before, but several years ago, I took an edX. It was my first edX class that I took, and it was on comics in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
And what I grew to appreciate is that comic book characters are just the current pop culture iterations of myths, mythology, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, as a child, my dad would tell me stories of, like the Greek heroes, Perseus, Heracles, Odysseus, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And, realizing, okay, these guys, guys and gals now are just, um, the latest embodiments of those. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, there's going to be changes,
Yeah.
right? Of course, they're going to look a little different, act a little different, and you're retelling a story. Um, and I guess I realized that one of the things I like. So Marvel just recently wrapped up season 2 of their series What If,
Mm-hmm.
which is, like an alternate reality kind of thing. It's like, what if this happened? Like, what if Captain America never got the super soldier serum and never picked up the shield? What could have happened, right? What
Mm-hmm.
if Bruce Banner didn't become the Hulk,
Yeah.
right? What if the Fantastic Four didn't take that rocket ship into space that day and become the Fantastic Four, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in DC Comics, on their side, they have the same thing. But it's called Elseworlds. And
Elseworlds.
again, it's just another alternative. It's the exact same concept. But big surprise, DC and Marvel riffing off each other. So, and I realized I always liked those. I liked those alternates. I liked Elseworlds a little more than What Ifs. Um, but as I grew to appreciate those, I started realizing that, these are just like different expressions of concepts, and I like those. So, if you look in the current thing, like right now, I don't remember how many current um, animated or live action Batman universes there are. But, you've got the Ben Affleck one, which I guess is done at this point. You've got the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. You've got the Robert Pattinson? Is that the Batman? And then you've got the DC and the guy who played the vampire from Twilight. He's
Yeah.
he's Batman, whole new different type of Batman. Um, so you've got all these different, like incarnations of Batman right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I can understand how people might get confused and not, not keep track of those and so. But my point though is like it's interesting now that we have. Sorry, my iPad is ringing, telling me that it's time to start podcasting because we're an hour early and it didn't get the memo. But I'm curious to see what happens. And so incidentally, I did double check. Superman and Batman are still copyrighted for another 10 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got to wait for them before I can use them officially on Sunday night. But hey, Mickey Mouse looks like he's out there.
He's
So
about ready to be a superhero in your game.
Super Mouse.
Superhouse. Well, one thing that that series I was talking about, Stranger Times. The what I like about it is it's written by somebody in another country with their own different lores, and it is interesting and fun to hear about new, strange things that I'm not used to hearing. I don't hear the
Yep.
same strange stories. I get to hear new strange stories, which I like.
Different perspectives, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Well, tell
there,
them about Mickey Mouse and see what they do with that.
yeah. All right. So then, uh, do you like books written from the perspective of a 19-year-old girl that's essentially girl porn? Do you like books like that? Yeah, me neither.
I can't really think of any examples of that, so I'm going to have to lean towards no. But could we put a pin in that for just 1 minute?
You
Can we pause on that for just 1 minute? Because I need to pause for a second.
okay?
Old girl porn.
19-year-old girl porn. So my
I mean,
I
I gotta say, as a father of three, I think you might have a little more experience with this than I do.
only two. I only have two.
Father of sorry, three women in the house,
Oh
two
yeah.
of them. Yes, sorry.
Two.
I was close. I was
Don't
close.
confuse our listeners. Oh, there's a
But
third one.
wait, we're not talking about Zelda. She's not part. Oh, okay,
Oh
got
no,
it. Sorry. We can edit this out, right? Okay.
yeah. So my office manager and I, we share books back and forth that we like on Audible, and often, she likes things that I also enjoy, and vice versa. And she told me about Fourth Wing, which is, I think, becoming a movie or show or something now, by Rebecca Yarros. And so I didn't even research it. I just, I had Audible credits, so I got it, and I started listening to it, and yeah, I'll save you. Don't waste a credit on it. If you didn't if you didn't enjoy Twilight, then you won't enjoy this. It's got all kinds of elements that you would think that you would enjoy. They are dragon riders, and they're going to a dragon rider school. So it's kind of like Harry Potter in that way, except they're all 19-year-old girls and boys, and it's cutthroat, and Katie holds the bar when it comes to sex and everything else, and it's like, and it, so I wanted to finish the book, but I was like, I am so over this. A,
Mm-hmm.
a sex scene started between the main character and her boyfriend, and I start fast forwarding, and I'm on Audible. I fast forwarded for 21 minutes before the sex scene was over.
Wow, 21 minutes. I mean, well, okay. Well, I mean, that's
It's like, are you kidding me? This is awful. I mean, I did not enjoy, and it was all like 19-year-old girl angst, and like the way that it was like Twilight. I mean, the
no,
guy,
never read it, haven't seen the movies, also never saw 50 Shades of Grey or read the books.
yeah, I couldn't finish 50 Shades of Grey either. They're all the same. It's like a girl has an idea what a man is like and what his brain works like, and it is not like that It doesn't work like
Oh, great.
that.
Well, there you go. Hey,
So
I
you
got a
don't.
question. So no, I don't have any experience with that sort of book.
So
So no,
you don't have to. You can save your time on that one.
I won't get those. Okay, good. Question. You mentioned something about 4K monitors being dual.
Yes. So I bought a 4K monitor. So I'm on my MacBook Pro, and I've got a whatever Cal Digital 4K splitter, and so I bought one, and I was like, okay, I really like it. It looks sharp. Um, and I needed to get the other one because when I have everything over on the other screen, it doesn't look as sharp anymore. And as my eyes are getting older, I want it to look better. So I got the second monitor, pleased with the quality. I had an interesting thing where I use Keeper for my password,
Mhm.
and for whatever reason, however it was processing the data in it, it looked blurry. And I mean, it didn't just look blurry; it was blurry.
Right.
And and it was the only application that was doing it. So I figured it had something to do with hardware, software acceleration, the way that it was handling pixels. I didn't really care enough to even look into it. But when I replaced the second monitor, the problem went away. When I hit 4K on both sides, the problem went away. So now my screen is sharp all the way across, and it's awesome. So
Okay.
I can avoid glasses for at least another year or two.
Well played. Well, I thought it was kind of funny because I wonder how because you mentioned 4K dual monitors. So I'm looking at you on a 4K display I got around a year ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I got it from Monoprice, who's, it's decent. It's not great. It's like a no frills, bargain basement 4K monitor, but the resolution is beautiful. I love it. The
Mm-hmm.
only complaint I have is that when a certain amount of screen real estate becomes black or dark, there's a very noticeable flicker in the screen.
Huh.
Right. So if I have like dark mode or if I have a big terminal prompt window or something like that, happens that it's very big, very noticeable. And I looked at it, I changed the cables, I changed this, that, the other. I heard lots of other people complain about it. I was like, all right, well, whatever. It was like 300 some odd bucks, and this was a year ago. So
Yeah.
for a 32-inch display, I was like, I'm not gonna complain. But now that I'm splitting my time between here and Vermont again, I was like, well, maybe now's the time. So one of the reasons I need to drive today is it's the last day that Best Buy up in New Hampshire is holding my new LG
Mm.
32-inch 4K monitor that I have waiting for me up there. So I will too. I also have dual 4K displays. It just happens to be that they're in different states.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so
yeah.
I was curious about that.
Yeah, I stretched mine out to see if the black did any problems, and no,
Yeah.
no problem.
What's
So
what's the size? I didn't catch. What's the dimensions?
27.
27. Yeah. And
Yeah, the only.
2732. It's not I had previous to this, I had an ultra wide,
Hmm.
display. It was essentially you take two, I don't remember how big. I think it was like taking two 27-inch monitors or two 19. I forget. It was big. Let me just put it that way.
Hmm.
But it wasn't ultra high def, it
Hmm.
was low res. So, and that got really annoying because, yeah, I could go stretching, but vertically it was just like having an old school monitor. And, I think
Hmm.
it only did like 1400 vertical or something. I forget. But it was noticeably annoyingly, short.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh God, okay, great. Well, there you go.
Well,
So I didn't make that mistake. I didn't go ultra wide. It is widescreen, but it's not ultra widescreen. So, and I think this is a pretty sweet spot. And I use it now. Technically, I have three displays because I have my MacBook as my main one and my keyboard that I use. And I also use my iPad, my new iPad Air as my, a third display off to the right.
hmm
So, yeah, yeah, I was just curious.
well, and I don't know. Well, of course, I'm on a Mac, and there was a special ultra sharp font setting. I shared it with you and Scott when I was first figuring that out, and that's really what made a big difference for me in this quality. It makes whatever, like Microsoft's old, whatever that font was, it's the same thing for Mac, but it
Ver,
really
Ver,
makes a big.
Ver, was it Verdana? I forget. I forget that. Yeah, but yeah, I get it. So it's kind of funny. So as I'm doing this, like I just moved the Zoom window, and with a Mac, if you move a window, if you drag, well, I don't know if it's a Mac thing or if this is the window manager I have going on. If it's the rectangle that I have, but when I take this window, the Zoom window we're in, and I'm flopping it around my screen, you can't tell. But when
I
I hold
can. I
it
can
up
see it
to
in your
the
glasses.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah. So when I hold it up to the very top of the screen, and I let it go, it will magnetize. It will maximize.
Uh-huh.
But the funny thing is, when I hold it there, as it just, it dims the screen a little bit, it starts to flicker, and it's
Hmm.
doing that's the exact same thing that I do. So whatever I've done, it's gotten that exact amount of screen real estate that it needs to mess up to make, do that annoying flickering thing. So
Hmm.
it's definitely a reproducible problem. So
Cool. Well,
anyway,
I had one last quick thing, and then we probably wrap up for the day. Is as an IT professional, uh, spear phishing. We're a good target for a hacker. Because we have multiple tenants, and you're like, oh well, I want to get an MSP. Well, I got a really good ConnectWise spear phishing email today, uh,
okay.
and it's sent over, and it had everything that you get in a ConnectWise, message, to say that you've logged in somewhere else, and it said that I logged in California, and it logged in to a different domain than mine, because I have my own unique domain for my MSP, whatever dot onscreenconnect.com. But I'd logged into another one. I'm like, how's that possible? Because I have MFA. And so I I didn't
Wait, say,
even
say that again. Back. So I missed something. Say that again.
it said that I logged in, because I get a notification every time
Right.
somebody on my team or my
Logs
or
in.
I log into ConnectWise from
Got it.
somewhere new.
Yep.
And it said that I just logged in into a new location in
Okay.
California, and
Okay.
it looked real, and it was a different domain. So like,
Ah.
out, and this wasn't actually my primary account either. I have more than one account. Just because I'm the primary account, I have to have a secondary account in case I get get out. I can't get into that account for whatever reason. But it tricked me for a minute, because I was like, wait, what? How did they get in? So I logged in separately to log into my account to see what my activity was, but it wanted you to click it, and it took you to a totally different domain. But the only thing that was wrong with it was, they changed the URL to put some like dot whatever at the end of it, but it was the full ConnectWise domain name. It looked really good. Somebody spent some time on it.
Okay. All right. Well, at least they're taking their time,
Yeah.
right? Uh, I wonder if they used AI to make it.
Ah, I could uh,
Ah.
I could send it to you if you wanted.
I'd be curious to take a look at it. I definitely would. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's one of the better ones.
All
Um,
right. Cool.
so well,
Cool.
cool.
Shoot them
Well,
my way.
I think that we have exhausted our list for today.
Whew. I think we're good. In that case, why don't you take us out?
Now let's take it out. Here, listener, we would like your feedback, and we're on a new domain now, so we're at faster speeds, and who knows, we're probably even more Google searchable now that we're on
Well, new
Amazon.
server, but same domain, right? You can still find us on blurringthelinespodcast.com, can't you?
Yes, you
Oh,
can.
okay. You had me worried there for a minute.
And then if you'd like to hear where we are and what we're doing, you can find Peter at yogawithpeter.com, friendswithbrews.com, Mastodon at Nikolaidis.in or Nikolaidis at infosec.exchange. You can find me at Sublime Computer Services, sublimecomp.com, rrlavenderfarm.com, and at the X-Twit Sublime Comp.
TwitX.
TwitX. That's what we
And
call
with
it.
that, TwitX. Yeah, I've been calling it TwitX. So.
TwitX.
And with that, it is time to push the big red button.